Hello and welcome to another episode of Boulder Going. It is I, Merlin, sometimes known as Joe, and I got the film fanatics here with me. Got Dan over there.
Hello.
Justin over here.
Howdy.
Today we're going back to the wonderful world of TOS, and we're going to be discussing Shore Leave, or as I like to call it, the Alice in Wonderland episode. The one where Sulu goes insane.
Among other things, but yes.
But, this is an episode that I'm really curious to hear you guys talk about, because, it's sort of near and dear to me for a number of reasons. So who would like to do the synopsis this time? Who feels more inclined to?
I mean,
I usually pick you guys, but I'm curious. Who wants to? Who wants it? Who's a bigger Alice in Wonderland fan?
I like a good Alice in Wonderland.
Justin?
I'm okay with letting Dan take the charge on this one.
All right, Dan. Ooh. You got paws and whiskers. You got Dr. McCoy going nuts. Nobody believing him.
Many people are nuts.
This is lunacy.
You got all kinds of fun stuff.
So basically, in Shore Leave, the Enterprise crew goes on a leave, and they go to this supposedly uninhabited planet, but it turns into Alice in Wonderland, and there's some Don Juan things happening, and many other things are happening. Kirk also, meets one of his former nemeses, who I like to call Fake Christoph Waltz, or
Proto Waltz.
Proto Waltz, which I enjoyed greatly.
Finnegan.
Finnegan. And then, at the same time, Spock's sort of storyline is he's learning that the planet is
what's happening.
Well, that the planet's drawing a large amount of energy from the engine, so he's got to figure out what to do. And in the meantime, everyone's going literally crazy, So I kind of like this episode.
Yeah.
The thing I liked about it, I think, the most, other than the Alice in Wonderland motif, well, three things if you count Fake Waltz. But number one, I think it's great that Bones gets some action.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. That is thank you. Thank you.
Number one thing about Trek is just Kirk is the stud.
Sometimes Spock.
On occasion Spock, but he doesn't know what to do with it because he's Vulcan. But McCoy, is always off to the side.
You'll be happy to hear this, Dan. There are a couple episodes where McCoy does get it.
Okay.
That is a point.
Well, this is the first.
This is the first of a few.
And, knowing the rules and regulations of television back then, they really went all the way with these women. More scantily clad than we've seen in a long time. No belly buttons still.
Not yet.
They had jewels over their belly buttons. But pretty much everything else, except actual bare breasts, above the waist is seen here.
A little risque, yeah.
So I liked that. But the other thing I really liked about it is this is the first time that I don't want to get in Roddenberry's head, but this is the first time that I would say that Trek was actually going for sort of campy and humorous.
Trying to be campy.
Mm-hmm. I think with certain other episodes that we've seen, they're obviously campy now to us, but I think at the time they really thought they were like, man, this is going to be, this is going to be hard-hitting metaphor, Charlie X, Shakespeare, So, this is the first time that I think they kind of were like, let's actually have some fun, make it silly. So I liked that as well. Overall, I think this is a pretty good episode. I do think that it's completely irrelevant in the grand scheme of Trek, which maybe is why it's not talked about. I didn't know it existed. It's not one I had heard of. So I give it a B+. All
right.
That was pretty good.
Sounds good. Okay. Yeah. Justin.
All right, so...
Fun times?
So...
Fake wall.
Captain, there's a samurai after me. What?
That was entertaining. But
I like how Kirk's like...
So last month I gave the TNG episode Riker's Douchey Adventure. I think I've got a good episode title for this one too, which is Captain Kirk's Day Off.
It's theoretically everyone's day off, but only really his.
It's supposed to be his day off. Just everyone else sort of comes along for the ride.
Yeah, true.
Like the show. Oh.
So,
yeah.
Fair point. So when this episode kicked off and we got to the ridiculous bunny, and you could clearly see they were going for Alice in Wonderland, I was thinking, oh no, this is a glorified holodeck episode masquerading as an episode of TOS.
In a way, it kind of is.
It kind
Pretty
of
personal.
is. Certainly. But...
Hollow World, in a way. Plot twist.
But I think the longer it went on, the more it was sort of easy to adjust to it, because it wasn't just Alice in Wonderland. It was just a lot of different things. It was more cerebral.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they stuck with just that motif, it was going
to get ridiculous,
Yeah.
I will say the setup is ridiculous. The cerebral nature of it, I think, works both for and against it at various times in the episode. And I feel like at the very end of it, it's more or less... There was no point. It's the episode where more or less nothing really happens.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an entertaining ride. There's a lot of entertaining bits, but really it doesn't ever really amount to anything.
I think I would argue that might have been kind of the point. Kind of like what Dan said. I think you're right. It doesn't really amount to much, but I don't think it was supposed to.
Yeah, but it's sort of in a... I mean, it works in a Star Trek 4 kind of way of... It's not your typical Trek, but it's not necessarily bad. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's just silly and kind of off and quirky, and it's just...
It's different, but it's still Trek in its own way.
Well, it's very sci-fi. The twist is...
Well, yeah, certainly.
It's kind of cool. I mean, it's unique, and...
the way it circles around, I think, is very Trek.
I think if they kept it in canon, this could be a planet they could visit again for obvious reasons.
Absolutely.
But was there any big moral lesson learned? Maybe.
No, not in this one, I don't think.
I don't know.
No, unless you're going with the whole holodeck, like
confronting your
bring your
past
desires to life and realize that they aren't quite how you see them.
That's the best I could offer. Yeah.
Well, if that's the moral, I think Next Gen did it better.
Yeah.
Well,
which is
you can't blame them. Half their show is based around the
episode.
So.
Yeah, true.
And season 1, absolutely.
I just meant in that episode where they were giving them the wish, Geordi wanted to see and Data wanted to feel and all that stuff.
Yeah. Which was a very strange
episode.
Bizarre,
but, it was weird. Yeah.
But no, to get to my grade, this was a more... I think this was a fun episode once it got going. Just took a little while to get there. And again, the fact that it doesn't really mean anything kind of didn't sit well with me. It's a B- for me.
All right. Well, I've always enjoyed this one. It's a lot of fun. I think you're right. It's pure camp, pure silliness, but I think it's very memorable. I think there's a lot of fun stuff that happens. I mean, I think it's definitely gives a little insight into Kirk, his past a little bit at the very least. And Finnegan, I think, is one of the great classic Star Trek villains.
You love him.
Finnegan's hilarious. I mean,
does he come back?
No, like anything else in this episode, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But he's enjoyable. Has one of the few. Air quotes here, decent fight scenes. You got some... I
thought the fighting was all right.
All right.
Compared to the Gorn, absolutely.
Compared to the Gorn. You got some good variation. McCoy gets to do something. Actually gets to be with a nice lady.
I loved it.
That was...
Two,
actually. See? Even rarer.
Yeah.
Technically 3, but...
And a fun fact, I think I might have mentioned this before, but my grandmother went to school and was friends with, and I believe even briefly dated this... one gentleman, his name's Theodore Sturgeon, who was the writer of this episode.
Oh.
So, the Star Trek connection with this one is
that's cool.
Personal for me. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So, in a way, I knew someone who knew this.
Meant to be, Joe.
Yeah, Shore Leave will always be a nice little vacation for me when I need to, just get a little dose of fantasy. No, it's a fun episode. It's a B+ for me, too.
Okay.
Always liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that
the only thing...
The fact that it has nothing to do with anything else isn't the worst.
Right, I think what
shows have that.
Justin's trying to say is, Trek's always trying to, be this big, meaningful thing, not just be pure escapist entertainment.
From episode to episode, but in this one it's let's throw out a concept and see if it works.
You can be honest, Justin. 95% of the time, even TOS is there's a
point.
There's a
certainly
message.
Most of the ones we've seen so far.
There's a message, and you might have your... unicorn dogs, but there's still a message behind it.
Mm-hmm. There is.
This one, it's
there's no moral.
It's just wacky adventures, weird planet, have fun, and that's fine. The only thing I don't really like about it is kind of the ending, where it's oh, hey, just hang out, and so
no one was really in any danger, but...
And by the way, one little thing that always kind of did bug me, and maybe I might have missed it, but things kind of get resolved and fixed by the end, except one person doesn't come back. I think the one female, and you're like, where is she?
Oh,
I did think about that.
I was like, so wait a minute, was there an accident? And I think there might be a scene where right before the episode ends, she's at the corner, maybe. But I'm like, she kind of died horrifically, and then there was no mention of her again, and I'm like, that's kind of messed up.
Yeah,
she died in the most brutal way too.
Huh?
But that's the only thing about it that always kind of bugged me. But other than that, I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah. I like that personal connection.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's
good anecdote.
Like I always say,
Has he written other episodes?
No, I believe this is the only one he ever wrote. He did sci-fi stories, stuff like that. I think
okay, TV. So he was more of an author.
Yeah, like how like they sometimes would have guest writers for episodes. He was just like, you'll write this one episode.
Why not?
Sure. I like when shows do that.
That's a cool thing.
Yeah.
So
Joss Whedon on The Office. For example.
Yeah, as an example.
Yeah.
But so that's the personal connection there, and it's
cool.
Something I think is a little more interesting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's going to wrap up this episode. So next time we're going to go to Next Gen. Always great. Always great.
The worst so far.
No, actually, we're coming up to a very important episode, and I think it might be the
Note
next
that he does not say good.
Important. I said important. Mm-hmm. He's right. I did not say good. But there is an important episode coming up soon, and I keep hoping for it because that means the season's almost over.
Okay.
But this was not a mid-season, right?
Yeah, this was a full season. I think there's at least 22 or 23 episodes of this.
It's not the last episode, but it's like it should have been the last episode of the season because it's like this happens and then we'll just do a few more episodes. Then this shows. Anyway,
interesting.
It'll be a talk when we get there, but that'll be we'll be talking into Next Gen next time. See next. It's like that movie, but we didn't want to talk about that. You're next.
Yep.
All the connections, but let us know what you thought about this one and many others. And I'm going to say goodbye. You guys say goodbye too, okay?
Yep, see ya.
Take it easy.